Hi, just to check, can you see my screen fine?
Yes, we can.
Yep, excellent one. Just to introduce myself, I'm Duncan from Nokia and involved in the 5G VINNI project. What I'm doing today is to give you a presentation of the onboarding process for ICT19 projects. What I'm going to focus on here is the process during the proposal phase for projects, so not actually the execution phase, but just the proposal phase. And I'll be covering the goals and background behind the onboarding process. The onboarding process from an ICT19 project's perspective and the activities that ICT19 projects have to undertake. The activities that 5G VINNI project members will perform during the process, and then lastly at the end just a little bit about documents, templates that will be used for sharing information between ICT19 projects and 5G VINNI. Okay. Sorry, I want to mute then. Before we look at the process itself, it's to just have a little bit of background to our thinking here around the goals and what we're trying to achieve, and the principles that are underlying the interaction between the ICT19 project and 5G VINNI. Okay. So for us, from your perspective, out of the ICT19 projects, what we're trying to achieve for you or give to you is a secure commitment from 5G VINNI that we will be able to support you and provide the services and capabilities that you need for your project. Also give information around funding and resource needs related to any 5G VINNI support. So a potential case where an ICT19 project has to fund, for example, as Paul was saying, interconnection, for example, any other activities. And also, finally, really, to some extent, the important one is to help you build a solid proposal for the European Commission, to present to the European Commission. Yeah. From our perspective, out of 5G VINNI, we need to ensure that we can actually provide what is committed to you, either in capabilities or services that you'll receive. We also need to ensure that whatever we commit to you doesn't actually jeopardize our own deliverables. So there are certain, as Paul said, certain experiments that we'll undertake ourselves, certain actions that we'll perform ourselves, and deliverables we have. So we have to make sure that we can still deliver what we have committed to the European Commission. And then for that, it's really for us to understand the impact of an ICT19 project's use cases on the 5G VINNI facilities, either the experimental ones or the main sites. Yeah. So that's the overall goals. In terms of what we're looking at for the interaction between ICT19 projects and 5G VINNI in this proposal phase, the first one is agility. There is a limited time available now before ICT19 projects have to deliver their proposals. So we need a process that can function relatively quickly, provide the information you require relatively quickly. We also have openness. This is an important one for us. Ensuring that the information we need to share internally within VINNI to provide ICT19 projects with the commitment they want, we need to be able to share information amongst the partners where it's relevant. Okay. Related to that is then confidentiality. And so we've already come across that there are multiple ICT19 projects competing for limited funds from the European Commission. We have partners within 5G VINNI are also involved in other ICT-19 projects, and there's overlap there as well that we have to be careful of. So the important aspect for us is that confidentiality is maintained. And although we have to share information internally within 5G VINNI, it's to make sure that it's only shared to those members of the project that need that information to provide any commitment to ICT-19 projects, and to be careful how that information is then shared out to the parent organizations of vendors, for example, that are involved in 5G VINNI. And really then it's for us, between the two of us, between ICT-19 projects and 5G VINNI, to actually function as trusted partners. We can trust each other in terms of information sharing, and we can believe in each other in terms of commitments that are made and actions that will be performed. Yeah. So I keep trying to change slides and end up muting myself, so I apologize if I suddenly go silent. But to achieve those goals then that we've set out, what we need really is information about the use cases that ICT-19 projects will actually be looking at. Okay. By having that, we're able to identify whether 5G VINNI can provide support straight off the shelf, whether it fits into those services that Paul spoke about. We're able to see where use cases need any additional resourcing, either from 5G VINNI or elsewhere. You can see where there are use cases that where ICT-19 projects actually have to provide some form of additional resourcing, end user equipment, this sort of thing. And also where there is no match between ICT-19 projects' goals or use cases and 5G VINNI. Once we know that, we can then commit to support. So what we've set up there is a process that is designed to gather that information from you, and then be able to, at the end of it, give you a proposal regarding our commitment. Okay? And that process is broken down here into 3 steps. We have to start with a verification step, we have a qualification step, and a commit step. Okay? So for the verification step, that is your first action from an ICT-19 project then is to contact 5G VINNI. And Paul has already given you a list of the contact details, the email addresses. So it's really contact a site owner or a central contact, and then really just to quickly identify whether the ICT-9 project's use cases fit into use cases that the different 5G VINNI sites are preparing to support. If we see that there is a fit there, then you'll be provided with a requirements questionnaire, which you can then fill in and return that to the site owner. Okay? Based upon that requirement document, that'll be reviewed, looked at by 5G VINNI, and based upon that, you'll receive a proposal from 5G VINNI, which then gives you information on, what we can support, description of the work that we will be doing, any costs, additional costs, things that we don't support. And based upon that proposal, you're then able to decide whether you want to continue with 5G VINNI or whether you need to find a different, go to one of the other ICT-17 projects. Okay. But the intention here is not to have a very long process. We're clear on the time aspect, so really it's to keep this as light as possible. And then what is important there, though, is the level of information that you provide us, that we have a level of information that's useful for us, that we can actually work from, and that actually saves us having to make a number of have a number of meetings or a number of back and forth communication with yourselves. Okay. So that then is the overall process for you. request a report, receive an offer, conditional offer, give us the requirements, your use cases and information, and then receive from us a proposal. Okay? So, what do we do on the 5G VINNI side? The request, as we've said, your request will be received by one of the site owners. They will make a verification of it, discuss it potentially with other site owners, and our coordinator or single point of contact identify that this is a request that fits with 5G VINNI. Okay. Once that has been identified and it's clear that there is a fit, then, as said, you'll be provided with information on the requirements document and what you have to fill out to provide for us. Okay. Once we have received that requirements document, go through a qualification process to qualify that request. And that is important here, and this is where we have to share information with both the site owner and the vendors of a site. So that'll be those that provide the orchestration, the NFVI management software, NFV orchestration software, and also the platform and the RAN and the core infrastructure. Based upon that, we're able to identify how close the fit is, what can be supported off the shelf, where there's additional resources that are needed. And then based upon that, we go over to building a proposal, producing a proposal, identifying what we will do and what you yourselves have to do as well. That proposal then will be approved by our executive board, and once that approval is made, then it will be passed over to yourselves for you to decide then whether you'll continue with 5G VINNI or not. So that's the overall process from your perspective, saying a little bit about what we do within 5G VINNI, how information is shared between the different site owners and the vendors within the sites. So the next point is to just briefly look at the documentation, the requirements document, and the proposal document. So the requirements document. This really is a document that's for 5G VINNI. This is an important document for us. It's going to be the document that we use to understand what your use cases are and what your requirements are, what your needs are. So we need to be able to see what sort of effort is going to be involved. We need information regarding dimensioning of the platform. If we're going to be running, supporting your VNFs, then do we have the infrastructure that's dimensioned for that? What sort of KPIs to see whether the testing, they're within our testing framework, test support, timeline as well. As Paul said, we are, the ICT 17 finishes in 2021, so if there's any continuation after that, we need to identify that so we can work on that. Okay? I really just to align our outcomes, your outcomes with our platform. Okay? So the sort of information that we have then, we require customer-centric use cases. So what you're expecting your interaction to be with 5G VINNI, any API requirements, testing, timelines, VNFs that to be onboarded, number of user equipment, for example, this sort of thing. So the form is actually set up in terms of questionnaire, some open questions, some closed questions. And for us, it's if you can provide the information that you believe initially is important for us and critical for us to actually understand your use cases. Okay. So we've received that material from you. We will then process it, and we return excuse me, I've got the wrong heading here. We return our proposals document. As I said to you, the proposal document is aimed to give you the certainty that you've got commitment from 5G VINNI. Enough information so that you can secure your funding, help you secure funding where possible, and build that proposal, knowing that you have support and you can say that you have support from 5G VINNI. So in the document, you have your contact information, important one for us. Not names though, we don't need names of vendors or anything, just an ID or a name of a project. Give you a list of the services that we'll provide, use case supported types of services that are offered, and then the assumptions or any limitations that we see. Also, any information regarding additional resources that we see that you require, where we're able to identify that based upon your requirements document you've sent in, and also then any support that we see is required after 2021. Okay. So that then is quickly the proposal document, and that then is the overall process for yourselves. So it really is to get in touch, make contact with the site owners, using those email addresses that Paul presented, and then we'll start that process to identify a match and provide you with the requirements document. Okay, then that's a short introduction to the 5G VINNI onboarding process for ICT 19 project.